Hello, my name is Stephen Cox, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about Carbide Create and Carbide Create Pro training. Specifically, we're going to be importing source vector graphics into Carbide Create, and then we'll be importing images such as PNG files and JPEGs into Carbide Create Pro. Below, I have listed the different skills sections by use. So if you want to see where to go in there, you can look at the times and you can jump to a specific section to understand that content, or you can skip sections if you like. The first one is intro, then Carbide Create importing SVGs, Carbide Create Pro importing images. Then when you've built a component and you want to close it, you're limited as to what you can do. And we're going to talk about, after you've hit done, what you still can do. We're going to be looking at the Windows Snipping tool and how it can help you centering and cropping of images to import into Carbide Create Pro. We're going to look at the Show 3D, which right now is limited to cherry and aluminum, but you can change that, and you can change the wood type simulation. We'll show you how to do that. And we're going to talk more on including ambient area, and then some at the end where there's some additional resources. Additionally, we've also included on the front page here the Carbide Create Pro video training at that link below, and we're doing that to help out everybody improve their projects. In this section, I'm going to talk about how to just import a drawing into Carbide Create. Not too terribly complicated. You go into the design section after you've got your work surface already set up. You go in there, and the bottom line down here is import. So you have import, you have auto trace, so you can bring in a drawing, and if it's a JPEG, then you can auto trace it, which we've talked about in other videos, and then you have a library of drawings. So the first thing, let's go to imports, and I've got some files pulled along. It will only pull up DXF files, SVG files, or C2D files. If it's a PNG or a JPEG, it will not give that as an option to bring in. So we'll grab this rocket ship here and we bring it in. This is one that I got off of Etsy, and you can find these on the internet in lots of places. It is actually a group of vectors, and it does come in the corner here, related to the corner. So if I click off of it for a second, you can see that it's made up of many closed vectors. So if you want to put them all back together, you can just highlight the whole thing and then hit group, or you can do Control A, and that will highlight everything, and you can highlight it and put it as a group and move it around. So you'll have to ungroup it if you want to move it out, but I'll just stick it over here on the side, and let's go pull in something else. So if you have something highlighted, it thinks you want to transform it or do something to it, so you have to be off of that. So import, and we'll do a flower, and this is a flower that I traced and made, and so that works pretty good. So we'll drag that over here on the side, and this one's going to be a little more confusing. So this is another one that I did, the C2C. It's in an older version, so it's upgrading it. So when I work on my work surface, if I have something there that I brought in, I just may pull it to the side and set it to the side. Well, when you save it, it's all still there, and when you import that C2D drawing, it will come with it. When you have these in here, you have all of your transform tools for sizing and rotating and centering and grouping and ungrouping and flipping and folding. All your C2 tools are there to be used. You have all your edit node tools, and you have when you go to cut, you have your tabs that you can put in. So that's pretty much how you bring into a drawing into Carbide Create. Carbide Create Pro has not only these CC features, but they have different features for bringing in other things. Oh, and just to quickly go over the library. Library comes with it, and it's a full set of drawings. They're broken into categories. So this is barbecue stuff. This is dogs, and all of this stuff, fish, Halloween, all that stuff can be brought in and used as part of your drawings. And again, there's no limit to how many drawings that you can put on the page. It's just what you can fit and what your imagination can come up with. In this section, we're going to be talking about how to import an image into Carbide Create Pro. Here's the modeling tab, and here's where it is right here, import image. Before we get to there, let's go set up a couple of basics, just like you do in the regular design function. You come in and you set your material. In this case, I'm doing 280 millimeters by 280 millimeters by, let's do 19 millimeters, which is basically 11 by 11 by 3/4. So we've got our material set up. So now we need to talk about importing a specific image. So you can import PNG files, JPEGs, or bitmaps. Those are the only three things you can do here. If you want, you can use this other button here and you can do STL files, or you can also export reliefs of things you have made. They don't quite export and come back in the same way they went out. So that's something that we can talk about later. But when you export an image, you're going to come into your space. So we're going to go look at where your images come from. So in this case, I went to a website, and you can use any browser and you can do different searches, but you're basically looking for some of these kind of grayscale images. I typed in CNC grayscale image, and I come down and I look, and I've done this lion over here, but I kind of like this elephant. So I brought the elephant up. Now you can just right click on that and save the image. But in this case, I want to look at how you use a tool called a snipping tool that's available in your Windows. So I'm going to hit new, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to highlight what I want to bring out. Now this helps me center better, and it helps me also crop out what I only want to talk about. So in this case, this is what I have, and so I'm going to save it. I've already saved it, so I'm just going to kill all that, and I'm going to bring up the Carbide Create, and so we're going to click on this bigger square, nothing highlighted, and we're going to come up to import image. So when we import this image, we're going to basically be creating a new component that we can add to our other components to come up with our total bill. And obviously, the bigger, the better, the more resolution the image is, the higher contrast image, the better for making a relief drawing here. So we're going to come to, with nothing highlighted, we're going to import image. We're going to click on our elephant. Now you look here, the elephant is turned 90 degrees. So that's not exactly what we want. So we're going to come back down here to the image. We're going to pull it up, and we're going to clock it until its feet are down, and then we're going to close it, and we're going to come back to Carbide Create, and we're going to, in this one, we're going to delete it, and we're going to bring it in again, and now it comes into the total space. And so it will fill and center the total space. So that's how you bring it into the whole space. So now let's try it a different way. Let's click on this red triangle square up here. And so now we're going to do that. We're going to hit import image. We're going to pull in our elephant, and there it is on the center. Now when we do this little red square here, if we move it a little and hit apply, the elephant will actually move around to match that space. So that's something that you may need. But you can also deselect the box and highlight another object, and it will now jump to the other object. And again, you can move it around and hit apply. So you have quite a bit of flexibility of where the object that you are moving jumps to. So that's in addition to the other one we showed. So we'll go look at it right quick. When we look at it, looks like a elephant, not very high in height, but it's got some white area around here. That represents a 0 height level in material. There is no material there. And you got all this fuzzy stuff there around it. So we'll talk about how to get rid of that here in a minute when we get down to include ambient area. So the first thing we're going to do is close this out, and we're going to talk about the angle here. So angle, we can go to 45 degrees, and it will clock the elephant 45 degrees backwards. Let's go to 90, clocking backwards 90,
And then now we're going to go to 95 and hit apply. And now we get an error. So this says it can only go between 0 and 90 degrees. The Carbide Create site says that it can go from plus or minus 180 degrees. That's wrong. This is all it can do. Just showed you that. So I think that's a bug that needs to be fixed. So in any event, you can clock it 90 degrees backwards. If you need to clock it more, you do what I just did a minute ago, where you go pull the picture up and clock it before you bring it in. All right, so the next thing is we'll put it back to 0 and apply. So now our elephant is there. And so now we're going to look at height. So we'll go look at that real time so we can see something happen. So here's our elephant. And be a little shaky on it, and we're going to roll it back by clicking off the image. And you click down here, you can move it a little bit too. So that's left mouse clicking and moving it back and forth like that. Right mouse clicking moves it around on the board. Left makes it rock, so we can see the height of it a little better. And so we're going to put in, right now, the height is set at 3 millimeters. So let's run up to 8 millimeters and hit apply, and you can see it pop up. Now, when we do that, we increase all of the little features in the elephant. So it's a trade-off as to how far you go up, and you're going to start getting some artifacts kicking here that you probably don't want. So the higher you go, the more it lifts things up. Now, in reality, some of this won't cut. So even though it's there, it still won't cut. So that's how you do the angle, and that's how you do the height. Now, just coming out of it right quick, and we're going to play with the height, and we're going to jump down and talk about another button. Oh, no, let's just go ahead and go to the XY scale. So right now it's at 1.1 is the size of it, and it pretty much fills my space. So if I go to 3 and I hit apply, then it just zooms in. If I go to smaller than 1, so I go to 0.25 and I apply, then it gives me a little elephant. So I'm going to jump all the way down here to repeat as texture and apply. So now I got a lot of these. So if I was to go import an image that looked like stone or granite or brick or anything, I can import the image and I can repeat as texture, and I get a nice background texture. You can still play with the scale height. So I'll put that at 0.5 and you can make it bigger. So that works just fine. So my original height here was 1.1, and then I'm going to get rid of my repeat as texture, and I got my elephant back. And so now we've covered angle, height, and scale. So now we're going to go look at the image again, and we've got it, and you see it's a positive image off the bottom, and I'm going to hit invert, and that means my blacks are become white and my whites are going to become black. And so now it takes that 8 millimeter and it digs it out. So it just matters to what you want to build as to how you want to do it. So I'm going to go back and to have it pop out. And so now I'm going to get down into include ambient area. So when you do that, what's going to happen is I'm going to have to add some base height to it. All right, so I'm putting 1 millimeter for base height. And so what that does is it takes all that white area and all of the area and raises everything 1 millimeter. So it adds, instead of 8 millimeter, now I'm sitting at 9 millimeters. But that gets rid of all of that white area and all the little spiky holes and everything. And I'm going to have some more illustrations of include ambient area in a minute. And so now we get down to the naming of it. When I do this, I like to put in here the name. So I'll just type in E-L-E for elephant, and then I put in A, and I put in 0, and then I put in H, and I put in 8 for 8 millimeters, and I put in scale, and I put in 1.1, and I put in there's no inversion, but I did put in include ambient area, and that's a Y for yes. And then I have in the name and the merge type. Merge type is add, and then the base height is 1. Now the reason I do that is when I close this out, I'm not going to be able to see that anymore. So hit apply. And so I've got the elephant looking like I wanted. It's imported. It's looking pretty good. I've got it labeled right. So now I'm going to hit done here and see what it looks like. So this is what it looks like, and that's the name. So that's how you import an image into Carbide Create Pro, and you can do that, like I said, with either a PNG file, a JPEG, or a bitmap. Once you've closed out your model that you're building by hitting done, it'll pop up as a component as part of your build. What can you do at this point? So you can right mouse click on it, and you can disable it so you don't see it as part of your model. You can hit delete to delete it, and that will get rid of your model. If you can hit edit component. So if you double click on it, you get edit component. And so here's your model shape, and this is all you can do. You can change the name, the merge type, and the base height. You can't see any of the parameters anymore that you programmed in. So what I like to do is put those parameters in the name. So I've got elephant, and when you look at it, you can say the angle is 0, height is 8, the XY scale is 1.1, and so on and so on. So now I can tell what my component is. It'd be nice if Carbide Create would come right down here and show you what your data is of the components as part of your parameter build. Even if they were grayed out and you can't change them, sure be nice to change them, but maybe that's too much to hope for. So right now, I would just like for them to add the ability to see the parameters, even if they're grayed out. That way I don't have to put them in the title. But then you can come back up and you can change the title if you want to change that, the name, if you want to change that again. You can change the merge type to a different merge type so that it changes the appearance on your overall model. And then you can add to the base height if you would like. You can change that. But that's all you can do. You can look at it, but you can't really do much else.
Now we're going to look at this snipping tool down here that is part of Windows and how it works. It's not real complicated. It's basically a cutting tool. So we bring in an image that we like, but we may not want all of it, or we may want it centered. So we'll click on the image and bring it up. And here's the image, and then we come down to the snipping tool, click on that, and then we hit new, and we left mouse click and drag over the image that we want to crop or center. And there's the image, and I already have it saved, so we'll close that out. So here's the image saved. So let's go look at what it looks like when you bring that into Carbide 3D Pro. So here it is. This is if we just brought the image in, and here's it's cropped and centered. So it does a good job of just highlighting what you want to bring in. It doesn't seem to impact the resolution too much, and it works very well. It's not hard to use. So you've made this image, and you want to look at it. So you come down to Show 3D, and here's what it looks like. And it's in Cherry, which is not necessarily the easiest wood to visualize it in. Sometimes it comes up in aluminum, which is really not a whole lot better. You need a little bit of grain, but you need it a little lighter, it would be, in my opinion. So if you come to Toolpath and you want to change that, you come down to Toolpath and you come down to here where it says Cherry, and I like beech wood, and so you change it to beech wood and you come back to Model, and now when you go look at it, it comes up into beech, and it seems like to me it's a little easier to see the details. Unfortunately, if you go start making models, it'll just jump back. Eventually, it'll jump back to cherry or aluminum. I don't know what drives that to happen, but that seems like that's a bug in the program. It'd be nice if they had an icon on the page here where you could just go right to the simulated wood you want to look at, or make one of these lighter ones the default, but that's a matter of preference. So that's just kind of a little hint on how to change the appearance of the wood that you're looking at in the Show 3D. To talk just a little bit more about this include ambient area function or parameter tool. What I've done is I've gone and I've built a component, or I built a whole model, examples of different include ambient area. So I'm going to go look at it in 3D. Right now it's coming up in aluminum. So I'm going to go back to what I did earlier and talk about the, you come down to toolpath and I put it in beach, and then I show, I don't need to show there. And I come back to model, and when I look at it now, it's in beach. So which is a little easier to see. So I'm going to zoom in. And so the left one is without including the ambient area, and the right one is with a 1 millimeter base. You can see what it looks like when you don't include the ambient area. So on the bear here, you've got this white area like of the elephant. So that's what happens when you put that in. And this star, this hole goes away, and the U.S. Army goes away. And on this lion, which I've actually cut, and it turned out pretty well, you've got all these little holes in there from the model going below the 0 level. And when you include ambient area, it gets rid of them. So that's how include ambient area works and the benefits to it. Finally, we have some additional resources which we've listed below. You could freeze the frame and look at those if you'd like, but there's some from Carbide Create and some from YouTube and some from some other places. So if you found this video useful, please like and subscribe, and thank you for your time.